Good morning, afternoon, evening. The timer is going, so I'm assuming I am live. This live is starting a little bit late because life happens, technical difficulties, but we are here. My name is Liku Amadi, founder and attorney of Anasa Law Firm, where I work with online coaches, consultants, and service providers to help them establish a solid legal foundation for business. Today, we are going to be talking about refund policies and client contracts. And first and foremost, I am a licensed attorney. However, this is not legal advice. This is legal information only for educational purposes. If you need legal advice, you need to consult with your own attorney. So with that being said, again, I'm going to be talking about refund policies for client contracts. And I think this is super important in the online space where we have digital products or can connect with and work with people so easily. Refund policies come up in multiple scenarios, which we'll talk about. But first, we have to define what a contract is, because the way that I work with my clients, I want them to approach their client contracts differently. So that's the foundation that we're going to lay for each live where we talk about contracts. So redefining contracts, right? What is a contract? A contract is not just a document. It's not just something for you to sign when you're working with a client or you're ready for somebody to pay you. Think of your client contract as the foundation of your client relationship, right? The tool, the terms and conditions that you're going to use to execute a stellar client relationship. As a business owner, it is your duty to provide a contract with terms and conditions that are thorough, clear, and protect the interests of your clients as well as protect your business, right? So let's think of contracts that way. They are extremely foundational, critical to the execution of our services and the execution of our business when working with clients, right? So that is what we understand a client contract to be. And in that, we want to make sure we create win-win scenarios. We want to make sure we have contracts. We're using contracts that create win-win scenarios to meet both our needs as business owners and the needs of our clients, right? And refund policies are one of those areas where we can certainly leverage to create win-win scenarios. What exactly is a refund policy, right? Sounds pretty straightforward, but a refund policy in your client contract are the terms and conditions that explain to a client under what circumstances they can or cannot get a refund, right? And that sounds simple, but it can become very complex, again, depending on the type of business you run, depending on the type of services that you offer, right? Maybe even your industry, who you're working with. So refund policies you have the job of making a refund policy that is clear to the business owner. And in the online space, I've seen it's easy to just say, like, the policy is no refunds, right? Especially when people are investing a lot of money to work with you for a significant amount of time. However, although it's simple, clear cut, you want to stick to it, that is not always the case with refund policies. And that's where a lot of client disputes come up, because a client wants their money back and you either don't feel like they should get it back. You want to stick to the contract because it says no terms, or maybe you want to give it back, but no refunds, or maybe you want to give it back and the contract says no refunds and you want to abide by that, right? There's a lot to navigate there. And so some examples of refund policies, right? Because they can be crafted in different ways. Again, this depends on the type of service that you provide, the type of payment structure that you provide for your clients, and we'll talk about that too. So number one, it's like no refunds, right? Clear cut, no refunds under any circumstances whatsoever. You might have another one that says no refunds, right? After 30 days of your purchase for the services, or no refunds before week one of the, let's say, business coaching program begins, right? So you can definitely remix or tweak that no refunds to make sure it fits, again, your payment structure and your services, right? Sometimes people say like you can make a deposit, and the deposit definitely is not refundable because let's say you're taking one of 10 spots for a certain event or service or program, but maybe other payments could be refundable, right? So that down payment or deposit could definitely be could definitely have a no refunds terms or policy attached to it, right? Refunds if certain results don't happen. So again, depending on the nature of services, if you're someone who has worked with clients and you have proven results that you can, let's say, double their revenue after 3 months of working with you, right? And someone doesn't get that result and you promise them a refund, that's very much a valid refund policy, right? If you don't get, double your revenue after 3 months, like you can have your refund back. Business owners definitely do that, attaching that refund to certain results or outcomes that don't take place. Another refund policy can be based on stages of work, right? So for a service provider, let's say a graphic designer who works on large scale projects for large scale, long-term projects for businesses, right? That might have 4 different stages. Let's say some type of discovery or learning phase, maybe a brainstorming phase, a creation phase, a review phase, right? So if you break your services up into specific phases or steps or whatever multiple structures you want to call it, payments may be associated with that as well. You can certainly have like one huge payment due at the beginning or the end, but you can also have payment in stages. And then refunds could be attached, right, to each of those phases. So for example, saying that, no refunds for any stages that are complete. So if you're paying $10,000 and you divide that by 4 stages, $2,500 per stage, and you get to the second stage and a client's like, yeah, I can't really do this for whatever reason, I need a refund. You'll probably look at your policy and say, okay, well, we completed stages 1 and 2, so you could get refunded for stages 3 and 4, right? COVID definitely brought a more attention, I think, to refund policies, just because, given the economic downturn and people getting laid off and money just not coming in, like a lot of things changed financially. And so looking back at your contract, it's like, okay, this is really no one's fault here, why our services are breaking down or why our relationship is breaking down or why we can't work together anymore, right? For multiple reasons. But what is a recourse here, right? Is someone entitled to a refund? Do we keep their money? So that COVID definitely made people pay closer attention to what the refund policies say, and also their force majeure clause, which we're not going to get into in this live. So those are just a few examples of how refund policies can pop up. Definitely not an exhaustive list. They come in all different scenarios. Again, they vary based on your payment structure or service structure, but payment structure I'll stick to. So payment structure, again, if you have like 4 phases, you're accepting installments of payments. If you have a deposit, if you have one lump sum, if payment is due in the beginning, if payment is due at the end, if you have, payment half now, half later, whatever that structure is definitely going to alter and impact the way that you provide refunds, right? If you provide refunds. The nature of your services as well, right? If this is something that is, let's say, like a one and done, get it done real quick in a day type of service versus a service that is extended over 6 or 12 months, that also may very much impact your refund policy. I stated before, like if you are, let's say, hosting a program, for example, and there's only 10 spots and, 2 people take up those spots and for some reason they want a refund policy, but you can no longer fill those spots because the program already started, that impacts how you would want to craft your refund policy, right? So the nature of your services and your payment structure definitely play or should play into how your refund policy works when clients do come to you and ask for a refund. Again, what I stated in the beginning is that it's our job as business owners to provide a contract where we can curate win-win scenarios between us as business owners and our clients. And refund policies are one of those things where we very much want to do that, because as we've seen in reality, and I actually just made a post about this on LinkedIn the other day, nothing goes as planned, right? Things happen. Not everything goes smoothly. You deal with the client, they're great to work with, and something can happen which derails your work together and results in a refund request, right? So things occur on the business end, and things can occur on the personal end. On the business end, again, maybe money is just not coming in. They don't have the money to pay you. Maybe plans change. They don't have the money to pay you. Maybe plans change and they don't need you anymore. So they want their money back, right? Maybe the business is shutting down. Like, there could be a number of business reasons, including people not being satisfied with your services, or not thinking that their services no longer work for what they need. I'm sorry, not thinking that your services no longer work for what they need, right? There could be a multitude of reasons related to business where people come and they will ask for a refund. On the personal end, there could also be a multitude of reasons. God forbid, someone can get sick. Again, going back to COVID, a ton of people got sick. Some definitely fell ill for the worse. That impacts what a company is going to do, right? That impacts a business, and that impacts refund policies for money that is on the line or work that hasn't been done. If someone is in a situation where they can no longer conduct a business, right? Not being sick, but some other personal reason, that may impact, right? If someone other personal reasons include like family changes, right? Structural changes, major life changes, moving, unexpected financial changes on the personal end, right? All of these things can result in a request for a refund. And so when you're looking at your refund policy, it's like, man, how can I walk away? And this should be the goal, right? How can I walk away from this situation in a win-win scenario, right? How can I be fairly compensated if that's the case? And how can the client's interests or needs be met with this refund request, right? Because what we don't want to do is be so stuck to our, let's say, no refund policy that it doesn't make sense under the circumstances. So if someone, let's say, pays you 5 figures to do a type of work that starts in a few months, and 1 month before they cancel on you or say they no longer need it, they request a refund. In that scenario, it may not make too much sense for you to keep their money and for them not to get a refund, right? You'll probably look at the amount, you'll look at the fact that work wasn't done on your end yet. You'll probably consider whether there's still time for that client to be replaced if there's limited spaces, right? Different circumstances come into play. But as a business owner, again, you want to create win-win scenarios. So you'll also want to think, how can I bring this client back, right? Maybe they want to work together on something else. And a no refunds policy can also certainly include transferring whatever funds or monies were spent for a specific service to another service, or giving credit elsewhere, right? Not necessarily giving back the money, but letting it be shifted to some other type of service that still provides value to the client and also keeps your business compensated, right? A win-win scenario, again, I want to be clear, is one where it can serve the client, right? Meet the client's needs. And that doesn't always mean actually giving them their refund back, right? But how can you meet the client's needs, and how can you meet your own needs? If you go to court, the question will likely be, not only what does the contract say, but what's fair under the circumstances. Because as a business owner, you want to be compensated for any work that you've done. And for the client, you want to make sure that they have, you want to try to meet their needs, needs, right? Like you can very much stick to the no refunds policy, but what would be better, and we're talking about a client experience and looking at everything as a whole, again, is to walk away from the request for a refund, the client experience in a win-win situation. People are human, right? People are human, things happen, requests for refunds come up unexpectedly on both the business owner and the client's end. So having a policy, again, that can meet your needs and meet theirs, and not at the expense of one or the other, is, I think, the goal when we're using our contracts, right? That's the power behind being able to be a business owner and provide a service in the way that we want to provide it, is because we can exercise this flexibility and do these things. And whatever that outcome is, of course, get it in writing. It's always important to get things in writing. Make sure that you document the fact that you and the client have agreed to whatever that agreement or win-win scenario is that you're going to walk away from, that you're going to walk away with, excuse me. Going back to the idea that a client contract should be used as a foundation to explain how a client relationship is going to work, but also be leveraged as a tool, right, to create these win-win scenarios. Because when you use a contract, it's not me, the business owner, right, against the client. It's, trying to use a contract so you can collaborate, right? So there can be a good quality, thorough working relationship, and a refund policy just plays into all of that. So again, what are we thinking about? What should we be thinking about when looking at our refund policies? Number one, we want to make sure it's fair on both ends, right? For you as a business owner and for the client. And then number two, just thinking like, how can we walk away from this scenario, which is of course fair and in a win-win situation for both the business owner and the client. So if you've been looking at your refund policies, or if you've been having clients issues related to your refund policies or any payment issues, I would definitely encourage you to review it with an attorney. Again, this is not legal advice, legal information only. Client disputes generally come down to money, right? If you're not on the same page, they want their money back. If they didn't get the outcome they desired, they want their money back. If they can no longer work with you, they want their money back, right? Refunds, refunds, refunds. So we just want to make sure we're in a position where we can protect ourselves, but also serve the interests of the client, so that everybody walks away from the table, again, in a win-win situation, which us as business owners can curate. I am able to check some comments. Very important for customers. Yes, absolutely, absolutely. You see those refund policies for shipments, like when you order, any physical product, right? A refund policy is when they're using a third party to ship the product. They say like, hey, no refunds. Once it's in the courier's hands, then it's not on us. You got to talk to them, right? Like we did our due diligence. Definitely read those refund policies when you're buying physical products. And I would also extend that to digital products. And I'll speak on that really quickly, because in the online space, we have a ton of digital products, and the refund policy is usually no refunds. So for something that is like a checklist, right? Let's say you download or purchase a $97 checklist. You look at the checklist and you're like, this isn't what I need for my business. Let me get my money back. It's probably going to be a really strong no refund policy, because under those circumstances, the nature of the product, right, not services in that case, but the nature of the digital product is that you get to keep it. You already have it. You have access to it. When you request a refund, there's no returning, if you will, that digital product. Who knows if you copied it, if you shared it with your friends, right? You literally have a permanent version of that digital product. So a no refunds policy there would be super tight. On the other hand, if you have a digital product, let's say that it's a course and the course is only accessible for 90 days, it's a 6-part course, and you've only done 2 parts of the course, right? If you're like, this isn't for me, or ooh, something happened, like I really don't want to continue with this, I need to pivot, you request a refund. The business owner will probably look and see, well, they only completed 2 parts, so maybe I can give them a partial refund since they didn't complete everything else. A business owner might look and say, well, actually, they already have access to everything. It's still 90 days, so no refund. Or someone might just completely revoke your access on the spot and then give you a full refund, right? Every situation is different. Every business owner is different. Every circumstance is different. But again, you want to make sure that you are, one, clear about your refund policy, and then two, look at ways where you can um, walk away from the request in a win-win scenario for both of you. I'm in a situation where I need to request a refund for production that was not completed, but no contract was written, only an NDA. What is your take on this type of situation? So first of all, this is not legal advice. So when you say I'm in a situation, that communicates to me that you're asking for advice for yourself. You will need to contact me directly so we can set up a circumstance where you can get legal advice. What I will say as far as legal education goes, is that an NDA is not always sufficient, right? Depending on, again, what the circumstances, whatever scenario you're in, it doesn't, you want a contract to cover the services that you're getting, right? You want to be able to understand what's required of you as a client, what's required of the business owner, what the policies are regarding payment, refunds, communication, intellectual property, products or services delivered, right? You want all of that outlined. And in a scenario where you don't have that, what I've told people to do, again, not legal advice, just legal information, is to try to resolve the situation amicably, right? Again, fairness in a win-win scenario. There's been a ton of situations where people come to me and they're like, I didn't have a contract, but I have this issue. Now what happens, right? And so in that scenario, from a business owner standpoint, you never want to not have a contract, because again, a contract is supposed to be that foundation where it does tell you what to do in situations where products or services aren't delivered, payments are delayed, right? Dissatisfaction of services or whatever that is, like that is supposed to provide that direction. And so when you don't have that, you end up getting in disputes where, unfortunately, you're probably going back and forth via email. Something may be escalated to legal, but at that point, I always suggest keeping everything in writing, right? A contract is supposed to be written for a reason. You want to have a record of what both of you agreed to. And if you don't have that, then at the very least, look at the writings that you do have, because those communications will paint a picture of what your let's say verbal, right, or whatever that agreement was, in addition to whatever the services are listed, right, what you signed up for, and other written, I don't want to say circumstantial evidence, other just other documents, right, where you can show like this is what has been going on. So in addition to, of course, having an airtight contract, I always encourage people to just maintain their own records of communication. You want to make sure that you have a paper trail to ensure that the contract is being abided by, and both parties are following what is in the contract. So again, to you, Tiffany, I would definitely say that you need to talk to an attorney. You can certainly slide in my DMs and we can set up that arrangement. However, I cannot give you legal advice with regard to that. So my additional tip, again, was just make sure you have everything in writing, right? Have a contract where it serves both you and your client's interests, so that when you do get into disputes, and again, now I'm just speaking generally, when you do get into disputes, it's something that helps you resolve and navigate the dispute. And in you and in you providing that direction for the client as well, it's steps for them to follow, right? It's structure, it's procedures for them to follow and be guided by, versus, the business owner on this end, the client on this end, and everyone trying to come up with something that's going to benefit only them, right? And not collaborating to work together to create a win-win scenario for the situation. So I will leave that there. You're very welcome, Tiffany. I hope this live was helpful. Like I said, please contact me in my DMs and I'll see if I'm able to help you out. And if I can't help you out legally, then I can most certainly refer you to someone who can. Again, my name is Lee Kuamadi. I draft contracts, obviously. I love drafting client contracts and making sure they're curated around the business owner's business, their policies, their client's experience, so that they're thorough and they can be leveraged in situations to create win-win scenarios for both yourself and the client, whatever that means under those circumstances. Again, not legal advice, legal education only. And with that being said, I will see you guys on the next live. Look out for it under events, and we'll talk about contracts again, of course. All right. Have a good day.